You begin by noticing warmth not as an object, but as a feeling that has always been with you. It rests quietly on your skin, arriving without announcement, leaving without goodbye. You rarely stop to ask where it comes from or what it means. Yet warmth is one of the oldest languages your body understands. Long before numbers, before names, before thought, there is the simple comfort of heat and the gentle warning of its absence. You are listening now without effort. As you lie still, you sense how warmth spreads softly, never sharp, never sudden. It does not demand attention the way sound does or light. It waits patiently, like a hand resting on your shoulder. The air around you carries a faint temperature, shaped by walls, by breath, by distant movement. Even silence has a thermal quality. You are floating inside a quiet exchange that never truly stops. Heat is not a thing you can hold, yet it touches everything. It slips through fabric, settles into skin, moves through bone. It is the reason metal feels cold and sunlight feels kind. Without warmth, there is no texture to experience, no contrast to guide sensation. Temperature becomes the background music of existence, always present, rarely noticed. Tonight, you let yourself notice it without judgment or urgency. In science, heat is described as energy in motion, but that definition can feel distant and mechanical. Instead, imagine warmth as a crowd of tiny movements, all happening at once. Every surface you touch is alive with subtle vibration, a quiet trembling too small to see. When something feels warm, it is not offering heat as a gift. It is sharing its movement with you, gently, continuously. Your skin is an interpreter. It translates invisible motion into sensation, turning countless microscopic interactions into a single feeling of comfort or chill. You do not feel individual particles, only their collective rhythm. This is how the universe speaks most often. Not in words, but in patterns that your body understands before your mind does. Warmth becomes a message received without effort. You may notice how warmth naturally flows, never staying confined. A warm cup slowly cools. A heated room eventually shares its comfort with the night beyond the walls. Heat has a quiet generosity. It moves outward, always spreading, always relaxing into its surroundings. There is no struggle in this motion, only preference. Heat moves the way breath leaves your body, easily and without regret. Even when you sit in stillness, nothing is truly still. The chair beneath you, the floor below, the air above all participate in a gentle dance of motion. Warmth reveals this hidden activity. It reminds you that rest is not the absence of movement, but a balance of countless small ones. Stillness is a surface illusion, a calm ocean hiding currents below. As your breathing slows, you feel your own warmth more clearly. Your body is a small, glowing region in a cooler world, releasing heat with every moment. You are never finished producing it. Even in sleep, your cells work quietly, exchanging energy, maintaining balance. This warmth is not excess. It is evidence of life continuing its conversation with the environment. Temperature becomes a boundary you carry with you. Inside, there is warmth generated and renewed. Outside, there is cooler space waiting to receive it. This gentle difference creates flow. It is why blankets comfort, why fires draw attention, why night air feels sharp against exposed skin. Heat moves across boundaries, and in doing so, it shapes experience. You do not control this movement, and you do not need to. Heat follows simple tendencies, drifting from where it is abundant to where it is scarce. There is peace in this simplicity. Nothing forces warmth to move. It is simply what warmth does. The universe does not argue with itself. It relaxes gradually, patiently. When you think of change, you may imagine sudden shifts or dramatic events. But heat teaches a quieter lesson. Most change arrives gently, spreading slowly until it becomes the new normal. Temperature differences soften over time. Sharp contrasts fade. What was once noticeable becomes background again. This is not loss. It is settling. As you rest, you may feel how warmth connects moments together. The heat in your body now is linked to meals eaten hours ago, to sunlight absorbed earlier, to chemical reactions unfolding silently. Warmth carries memory without intention. It is history expressed as sensation. Every degree of temperature is a record of what has happened before. You are surrounded by this quiet language, written in gradients and flows rather than letters. The universe does not explain itself loudly. It communicates through tendencies, through what naturally happens when things are allowed to be. Warmth is one of its clearest expressions. It does not insist. It simply moves. Tonight, you let warmth be what it is. You do not chase it or resist it. You notice how it changes slowly, how it never freezes in place. This gentle movement invites a deeper realization. If warmth is motion made visible, then nothing you touch is ever truly at rest. Beneath the calm surface of stillness, something is always quietly stirring, waiting to be noticed. You rest inside what feels like stillness. The room does not move. The air seems settled. Your body lies supported and quiet. From the outside, everything appears calm, finished, paused. Yet this calm is only a surface, like a frozen lake hiding dark water below. When you listen more closely, not with ears but with curiosity, you begin to sense motion tucked gently beneath the silence. Every solid object around you feels firm and unmoving, but solidity is a careful illusion. The floor beneath you, the walls, even your own bones are not truly still. They are structured gatherings of unimaginably small pieces, each one alive with motion. These pieces never stop. They vibrate, sway, and shift in place, even when nothing seems to be happening at all. You can imagine them like sleepers in a shared room. No one gets up. No one speaks. Yet every body adjusts slightly, breath rises and falls, muscles twitch softly. Stillness exists, but it is not empty. It is full of quiet activity, layered and patient. This is how matter behaves when it appears calm. Heat becomes your guide into this hidden world. Temperature is not about how something looks, but how much motion lives inside it. When something feels warm, its inner pieces are moving more quickly, brushing past one another with energy to spare. When something feels cold, those movements slow, growing smaller and more restrained, though never truly stopping. Even in the coldest places imaginable, motion remains. Particles huddle closer, trembling faintly, as if conserving energy rather than abandoning it. Absolute stillness, a complete halt, is something nature never quite reaches. The universe always leaves a small hum running in the background, like a distant engine idling in the dark. You feel this truth in your own body. Even when you lie completely still, warmth continues to rise from your skin. Your chest lifts and falls. Blood moves in quiet loops. Cells exchange energy in microscopic conversations. Rest does not mean stopping. It means moving gently enough that effort fades from awareness. Heat measures this hidden effort. It does not care about shape or color or purpose. It simply reflects how energetically particles are moving in relation to one another. This makes temperature a kind of honesty. It reveals activity without telling a story. It shows motion without judgment. You might picture atoms as tiny planets, bound in delicate orbits, vibrating around invisible centers. Or you might imagine them as dancers, each confined to a small space, swaying endlessly to a rhythm they did not choose. They cannot rest completely. Their motion is not a task, but a condition of existing. The warmer something is, the more expressive these motions become. Vibrations widen. Collisions grow more frequent. Boundaries soften. Cold pulls motion inward, making movements tighter and quieter, like whispers spoken close to the mouth. Heat lets motion stretch its limbs. Stillness, then, is not the absence of motion but a balance of it. When movements cancel each other out, when countless tiny actions average into calm, the world appears steady. This is why a table feels solid and reliable. Its internal motion is evenly shared, contained, and quiet enough to feel stable. You begin to see how heat gives away the secret life of matter. Touch reveals what eyes cannot. A cold surface tells you its internal motion is restrained. A warm one tells you it is lively. Temperature becomes a translator between scales, turning invisible behavior into human sensation. As you lie here, you realize that the calm you feel is supported by motion, not threatened by it. Stillness is not fragile. It is built from countless small movements agreeing to stay close to home. There is comfort in this idea. Rest does not require stopping the world. It requires letting motion settle into gentle patterns. This understanding softens your relationship with change. If motion is always present, then change is not an interruption. It is a shift in balance. Things do not suddenly begin to move. They only move differently. Heat reflects this difference, marking transitions quietly as they happen. The air around you is full of invisible travelers. Molecules drift, collide, rebound, and wander. Their motion carries warmth from place to place, smoothing sharp differences over time. You breathe them in and out, sharing heat without noticing. Even breathing becomes an exchange of motion, slow and mutual. You are not separate from this process. Your warmth leaks gently into the room. The room shares its cooler calm with you. There is no boundary that fully holds. Motion crosses every line eventually. This constant exchange keeps the world from becoming rigid or frozen in place. As you drift deeper, you sense that motion itself has a kind of direction. Warmth tends to spread. Energetic movement relaxes outward. High activity gently dissolves into lower activity, like excitement fading into calm. Motion prefers to even itself out, to distribute rather than collect. This preference is not a rule imposed from above. It emerges naturally from countless tiny interactions, each one following simple tendencies. Together, they create patterns that feel purposeful, though no intention guides them. Heat flows because motion spreads more easily than it gathers. Stillness now feels different to you. It is no longer empty or final. It is a living balance, maintained moment by hidden activity. You rest inside this balance, supported by motion you do not need to manage. The universe is busy enough on its own. As your awareness softens, you notice that this constant motion is not random noise. It carries direction, preference, and consequence. The way heat spreads hints at something deeper, something that shapes time itself. Motion beneath stillness is not wandering aimlessly. It is quietly, steadily unfolding toward somewhere new. You rest within a world that is always loosening its grip. Nothing is tightening, clenching, or pulling itself together for long. Instead, things ease outward, slowly and without drama. This gentle tendency has a name in science, but before it has a name, it has a feeling. You sense it in cooling tea, in fading footsteps, in the way warmth leaves your hands and enters the air. This feeling is entropy, arriving not as chaos, but as release. Entropy is often described in ways that sound harsh or unsettling, but here, it is something softer. It is the universe exhaling. It is energy stretching out, finding room, relaxing into a wider space. When heat spreads from warm to cool, entropy is not destroying anything. It is smoothing differences, lowering tension, letting movement become more evenly shared. You imagine a tightly wound thread slowly loosening. No force pulls it apart. It simply unwinds because it is easier to be open than constrained. Entropy works the same way. Energy prefers freedom. Motion prefers space. When given the chance, both will gently drift outward rather than remain trapped. Warmth illustrates this beautifully. A warm object placed in a cooler room does not hold its heat in defiance. It does not resist the world. It shares. Heat leaks outward not because it must, but because there are more ways to be spread out than to stay concentrated. Entropy is not a command. It is a preference written into possibility itself. You feel this preference in your own body. Tension fades when you stop holding it. Muscles relax when effort is released. Breath deepens when you no longer control it. Entropy feels similar. It is the natural direction things take when nothing interferes. It is what happens when systems are allowed to be honest. In scientific terms, entropy measures how energy is distributed, but here you understand it through imagery rather than numbers. High entropy feels like a wide, calm lake, energy shared evenly across its surface. Low entropy feels like a steep hill, energy piled up in one place, ready to flow. The universe gently prefers lakes to hills. This preference shapes everything you experience. Heat flows, gases expand, differences soften, sharp edges blur. Entropy does not rush. It unfolds patiently, step by step, moment by moment. There is no urgency in it, no deadline to meet. The universe has time, and it uses that time to spread out. You might wonder why this spreading happens so reliably. Why energy does not gather itself back up, returning warmth neatly to where it began. The answer is not force or law, but likelihood. There are simply more ways for energy to be spread out than to be concentrated. Entropy is probability expressed as experience. Imagine shuffling a deck of cards. There are countless mixed arrangements and very few perfectly ordered ones. Shuffling does not destroy the cards. It explores possibility. Entropy works the same way, guiding systems toward the states that are most available, most common, most easily reached. Heat wandering through a room explores more possibilities than heat trapped in one corner. Motion distributed across many particles can arrange itself in more ways than motion locked into a few. Entropy is not about ruin. It is about openness. It is the universe choosing the paths with the most room. As you lie still, this understanding feels strangely comforting. Nothing is being taken from you. Things are simply becoming shared. Warmth does not disappear. Changes address. Energy does not vanish. It spreads its presence more widely. Entropy is conservation wearing a softer face. You begin to notice how entropy gives time its shape. The reason you can tell before from after is because heat has moved, differences have softened, and energy has unfolded. A broken cup does not reassemble itself because there are vastly more ways for its pieces to be scattered than aligned. Entropy gives memory direction. This direction is gentle but firm. It does not push backward. It does not rewind. Entropy moves forward not because it wants to, but because forward is where the most paths are. Time follows entropy the way a river follows gravity, not by choice, but by ease. Warmth flowing through space becomes a quiet clock. You feel time passing when tea cools, when skin chills, when the sun sets and releases its stored heat into night. Entropy marks moments without counting them. It measures change through distribution rather than seconds. You realize that entropy does not forbid order. It allows it briefly, locally, temporarily. Snowflakes form. Life emerges. Patterns appear. But all of these exist within a larger unfolding, supported by energy flowing from concentrated sources outward. Order is not the opposite of entropy. It is something entropy momentarily makes possible. Your body itself is an island of order floating in a sea of spreading energy. You maintain structure by releasing heat, by increasing entropy around you to preserve organization within. This is not a battle against entropy. It is cooperation. Life exists because entropy is allowed to continue elsewhere. This reframes the idea entirely. Entropy is not an enemy to be feared. It is the background condition that makes change, growth, and experience possible. Without it, nothing would flow. Nothing would age. Nothing would become. As your thoughts slow, you stop resisting this idea. You let entropy feel like rest rather than loss. You imagine the universe easing its shoulders, letting energy slide into comfortable positions. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is wrong. Things are simply unfolding in the direction that allows the most freedom. You rest inside this unfolding now. Heat moves. Energy spreads. Differences soften. And beneath it all, a quiet question remains, not demanding an answer, only inviting curiosity. If entropy always moves forward, if unfolding never reverses, then what does that mean for time itself? You begin to notice that warmth has a habit. Once it moves, it does not return in the same way. A cup of tea cools, but it never uncools. A room warms, then gradually releases that warmth back into the night, but it does not collect itself again at dawn. Heat seems to remember where it has been, not by going back, but by continuing forward into change. This quiet habit reveals something deeper than temperature. It reveals direction. Heat flows from warm to cool, spreads from concentrated to diffuse, and in doing so, it draws an invisible arrow through time. You do not see this arrow, but you feel it. It is the reason you recognize before and after, cause and effect, memory and expectation. When warmth leaves your skin, it does not vanish. It blends into the air, into walls, into space beyond the room. It becomes shared, diluted, harder to gather again. To return heat to exactly where it began would require countless tiny movements to reverse themselves in perfect coordination. Nature does not forbid this, but it makes it unimaginably unlikely. Irreversibility begins to feel less like a rule and more like a tendency. There are far more ways for warmth to be scattered than collected, far more paths forward than backward. Heat does not refuse to return out of stubbornness. It simply follows the direction with the most available possibilities. You can picture this as ink dropped into water. At first, the ink is concentrated, dark, defined. Over time, it spreads, curling into soft tendrils, blending until the water is evenly tinted. The ink has not disappeared. It has changed its arrangement. Returning it to the drop would require retracing every swirl, every microscopic drift. Heat behaves in much the same way. This spreading gives time its texture. You experience time because things change, and they change because heat flows and mixes. If warmth returned neatly to its source, moments would fold back on themselves. Cause and effect would blur. Memory would have no direction. The universe chooses clarity by allowing heat to move on. You feel this clarity in daily life. Ice melts, but water does not unmelt itself in your glass. Fires burn fuel, but ash does not rise and reassemble into flame. These processes feel obvious, even boring, because they align with entropy's quiet preference. They follow the same gentle slope downward, from difference toward balance. Yet nothing is truly lost in this movement. Energy remains conserved, carried forward into new forms and places. What changes is its usefulness, its concentration, its ability to do focused work. Heat that has spread evenly is calm, content, but no longer eager to drive change. It has rested. This resting quality gives irreversibility its peaceful tone. The universe is not running out of energy. It is letting energy relax. High contrasts fade into gentle gradients. Sharp edges soften. Activity settles. Entropy is not decay, but diffusion. You might think of memory in the same way. A moment happens with intensity, clarity, and focus. Over time, it spreads across your mind, blending with other memories, losing sharpness but gaining context. You cannot return to the exact feeling of the first moment, but nothing about it is erased. It simply becomes shared. Heat teaches time how to behave. The reason you remember the past and not the future is because warmth has already flowed. The reason you expect cooling rather than spontaneous heating is because energy has already dispersed. Time feels one-directional because thermal processes overwhelmingly move that way. This does not mean the universe is rushing toward an ending. The flow is slow, patient, measured in countless tiny exchanges. Every moment, heat moves a little, mixes a little more, evens out a little further. The arrow of time is drawn with a soft hand. You begin to sense that irreversibility is not something imposed on the universe from outside. It emerges from within, from the collective behavior of trillions upon trillions of moving pieces. Each follows simple tendencies. Together, they create direction. There is comfort in this. You do not need to worry about time snapping backward or moments undoing themselves. The same tendencies that guide heat also guide experience. What has happened becomes part of what is, and what is moves gently forward into what comes next. This forward movement does not erase meaning, creates it. A story matters because it unfolds. A journey matters because it has direction. If heat returned exactly as it left, if time circled endlessly, nothing would feel complete or distinct. As you lie quietly, you feel time passing not as urgency, but as softness. Warmth fades from your hands. The air cools slightly. These changes are subtle, almost kind. They reassure you that the universe is behaving as expected, following its calm preferences. Irreversibility no longer feels like loss. It feels like honesty. Things become what they become, and then they move on. There is no clinging, no hoarding of energy or moments. Everything participates in the same gentle release. You realize that this is why rest feels natural at night. Activity has spent itself. Heat has spread. Differences have softened. The world prepares to settle, not by stopping, but by easing into balance. Sleep mirrors entropy's direction, letting effort dissolve into calm. Heat never returns the same because returning would require intention, coordination, and effort that the universe does not provide. Instead, it offers ease. It offers flow. It offers time that moves forward because forward is where relaxation lives. As your thoughts slow further, you sense that this one-way movement is not a flaw to be corrected, but a foundation to rest upon. The arrow of time is drawn by warmth itself, quietly pointing onward, inviting you to follow without resistance. You find yourself resting between two extremes. On one side, there is fire, bright and restless, sending warmth outward in all directions. On the other, there is ice, calm and reserved, quietly drawing heat inward. These opposites feel dramatic, yet they are connected by the same gentle rule. Heat moves, always, from where it is abundant to where it is scarce, not out of desire, but out of ease. Fire does not burn because it wants to. Ice does not chill with intention. Both are expressions of imbalance. Fire exists where energy is tightly packed, eager to spread. Ice exists where motion has slowed, leaving room to receive warmth. Neither state is permanent. Each is a momentary arrangement in a long conversation between energy and space. You imagine warmth flowing like water down a gentle slope. It does not leap or rush unless the slope is steep. It simply follows the path that requires the least resistance. This is how heat behaves everywhere, from the smallest object to the largest planet. Differences create motion. Balance brings rest. This search for balance quietly powers the world. Winds rise because sunlight warms the earth unevenly, creating regions of warm air that lift and cool air that sinks. Oceans circulate because heat enters at the equator and escapes near the poles. Weather exists because the planet is never heated evenly. Imbalance keeps the air moving and the seas alive. You may think of balance as an ending, but in nature it is more like a pause. The moment temperatures equalize, motion slows, activity fades, and change becomes subtle. Perfect balance would mean still air, quiet oceans, and a silent sky. The world avoids this not by choice, but because new imbalances are constantly being created. Day and night trade places. Seasons tilt the planet toward and away from the sun. Volcanic heat rises from below while space pulls warmth away above. Balance is approached, touched briefly, then left behind. The search never ends, and that is what keeps the earth breathing. Fire feels dramatic because imbalance is dramatic. Flames flicker and dance as energy escapes quickly, illuminating the path it takes outward. Ice feels calm because it represents a near-balance state, where motion is restrained and change happens slowly. Both are honest expressions of temperature difference. You feel this search for balance in your own body. When you are cold, you shiver, creating motion to raise your temperature. When you are hot, you sweat, releasing heat to cool yourself. Comfort lives near balance, but never exactly at it. Your body constantly adjusts, correcting small differences before they grow too large. Heat does not aim for perfect equality. It moves toward it, asymptotically, slowing as differences shrink. This means balance is always approached but rarely achieved. There is always a slight gradient, a tiny push that keeps energy flowing. The universe seems to prefer gentle motion over complete rest. Ice melting into water is not a failure of cold. It is warmth arriving step by step, sharing motion. Fire fading into embers is not loss. It is energy finding new places to exist. Balance is not victory for one side or the other. It is a shared quiet that follows exchange. You begin to see that imbalance is not a problem to solve. It is a condition that allows experience. Without temperature differences, there would be no wind against your skin, no warmth from sunlight, no cooling night air. Imbalance creates sensation, and sensation creates awareness. The planet itself lives inside this dance. The sun pours concentrated energy toward Earth, creating a massive imbalance between hot space-facing surfaces and cooler shaded ones. Earth responds by moving air, evaporating water, growing clouds, and releasing heat back into space. Life thrives inside this ongoing adjustment. Even storms are part of the search for balance. A storm forms when energy differences become large enough to move air rapidly, redistributing heat and moisture. When the storm passes, the atmosphere is calmer, closer to balance than before. The violence is temporary. The smoothing is lasting. Balance, then, is not silence. It is a slowing of extremes. It is the moment when fire has shared enough and ice has received enough that motion becomes gentle again. The universe does not punish imbalance. It uses it. You rest inside this understanding and feel its calm. Nothing around you needs to be fixed. Differences are allowed to exist because they will naturally soften. Heat will move. Cold will receive. Balance will be approached without instruction. This makes patience feel built into reality. No one rushes heat toward balance. It arrives when it arrives at a pace set by distance, material, and time. The universe waits comfortably, knowing that exchange will happen eventually. As you drift closer to sleep, you feel the temperature of your own body gently meeting the room. Blankets trap warmth, slowing its escape. Air carries some away. Your comfort exists in the careful management of imbalance, not its elimination. You realize that equilibrium is not the goal of existence. It is a resting point along the way. The world stays alive by continuously creating and smoothing differences. Fire and ice are not enemies. They are partners in motion. This partnership extends everywhere. Stars burn hot while space remains cold, allowing light to travel and warmth to spread. Planets cool over billions of years, releasing internal heat slowly into the dark. The universe itself moves toward balance on timescales so vast they feel eternal. Yet even here, balance is never final. New stars ignite. New differences emerge. Motion resumes. The search continues, endlessly gentle, endlessly patient. You rest now, aware that imbalance is not something to fear. It is what allows the world to breathe, to move, to change. Balance will come, briefly, softly, and then pass, making room for the next quiet exchange. You settle into the quiet of your own body. It hums softly with warmth, a small, glowing presence in the surrounding air. Every heartbeat, every breath, every subtle twitch of a muscle releases heat into the world. You rarely notice this warmth, but it is constantly present, shaping your sense of self and the space around you. Tonight, you allow yourself to notice, gently and without judgment. Your skin radiates energy, an unspoken communication between yourself and the environment. You are not separate from the world. You are a small, radiant part of it. Heat flows outward from you as naturally as breathing, carried away by air, absorbed by blankets, touched by the chair or bed beneath you. Nothing is forced. Everything moves according to its nature. Inside, your body is alive with microscopic motion. Cells divide and repair. Blood courses through vessels in quiet loops, transporting warmth and nutrients. Chemical reactions spark and fade, producing energy to power thought, motion, and life itself. You can imagine each of these processes as a tiny flame, flickering without attention, joining countless others to create the overall warmth you feel. Entropy is at work here, too, though it does not feel harsh or impersonal. Your body constantly releases energy, increasing disorder in the surroundings to maintain order within. You preserve structure at the cost of spreading warmth. This is not a battle. It is a negotiation, a careful, ongoing collaboration with the universe. You breathe slowly and notice how air carries warmth with it. Exhalation sends tiny thermal parcels outward, a gentle gift to the room. Inhalation brings cooler air in, which your body absorbs, integrates, and then releases again. This cycle is invisible yet undeniable, a constant dialogue with the world. Each breath marks the passage of energy, a whisper of movement beneath the calm surface. Your muscles are small engines. Even when relaxed, they maintain tone, generating heat through activity. When you move, they burn energy more visibly. When you sleep, They continue to work subtly, maintaining balance, circulating fluids, keeping life steady. Heat in your body is never idle. It is a soft, persistent song of being. You might imagine your body as a tiny planet. Core warmth circulates outward. Skin is the atmosphere, releasing and receiving heat. Blood is the river, carrying energy to where it is needed. Bones are the mountains, silent yet still full of vibration. Every structure participates in the gentle management of energy, creating a small world that mirrors larger patterns in the universe. Metabolism feels abstract in textbooks, but here it is immediate and intimate. Glucose and oxygen meet inside cells, exchanging electrons, releasing energy as motion and warmth. This process is repeated trillions of times each day, quietly sustaining you. The warmth it produces does not accumulate indefinitely. It flows outward, easing itself into the surroundings, just as entropy prefers. You notice subtle gradients across your body. Hands may feel cooler than your core. Feet may release heat differently than arms. Each area interacts with the environment, negotiating energy exchange at its own pace. Your body is not uniform, but every part participates in the overall thermal conversation. This unevenness is natural, gentle, and constant. Sleep itself is a thermal process. As your nervous system shifts into rest, your core temperature drops slightly, signaling calm to the rest of your body. Heat moves from your extremities outward, blankets trap some of it, air carries some away. Your entire physiology participates in this quiet redistribution, preparing you for deep relaxation. Rest is an equilibrium sought, not enforced. Even small movements in consciousness affect this thermal flow. Your heartbeat may slow, your breath deepen. Tiny muscles around your eyes, lips, and face release or absorb energy. Nothing is abrupt. Every adjustment is gradual, imperceptible to the mind if you let it be. Your body is a master of patient, unhurried energy exchange. You realize that life itself is a continuous management of energy, a delicate balancing act performed without fanfare. You do not stop to witness this daily miracle. It is routine, ordinary, yet miraculous. The warmth you feel is evidence of this ongoing harmony. A story written not in words, but in motion, in heat, in the subtle flows that sustain you. Imagine for a moment that you could trace the path of every thermal particle leaving your skin. They move outward, mingling with the air, touching surfaces, brushing against molecules that will carry them further. Your heat becomes part of an invisible network of energy spreading across the world. Even without intention, your presence contributes to the wider unfolding of thermal motion. The same principle applies inward. Warmth travels from core to skin, from your lungs to the surrounding air in each breath. Energy released by digestion moves through your blood, feeding motion and thought. This constant circulation is quiet, steady, unremarkable in ordinary moments, yet it is profound in its implications. You exist as a moving, breathing system of energy, always giving, always exchanging. Entropy, again, is not an adversary. It is the medium through which your body maintains itself. Without it, your cells could not function. Without it, energy could not flow. Without it, life itself would stall. Your warmth is the evidence of this gentle, pervasive principle, that maintaining order requires allowing motion to spread. You begin to notice the rhythm in all of this. Heartbeat, breath, warmth, movement. Each pulse is a soft signal that life continues, that energy is flowing. Even stillness is full of motion when looked at this way. You are alive, yes, but also a channel through which warmth journeys outward, leaving traces in the world, as all things do. Rest becomes richer with this awareness. You no longer fear that heat might be wasted. You see it as part of a continuous story. Every particle, every molecule that leaves your body joins the wider flow, contributing to the gentle unfolding of the universe. Nothing is lost. Nothing is neglected. The story continues whether you notice it or not. A quiet wonder arises. What happens when this heat finally rests? When your body reaches complete calm, when all motion slows to its minimum, when entropy has done its work in this local system. Perhaps it does not disappear. Perhaps it continues to travel, absorbed into the room, into the night, into something larger. Even rest is part of motion, part of energy's gentle unfolding. You lie with this thought, feeling your own warmth as both presence and process. Your body is a small, intimate demonstration of universal laws, showing you how energy flows, how life persists, how change is continuous. The thermal story written in you mirrors the grand story written in stars, oceans, winds, and all living things. You leave the quiet warmth of your body and imagine the world beyond it. The same principles that guide your cells also guide machines, rivers, and even the stars. Energy flows, spreads, and transforms wherever it is found, shaping motion, creating work, and marking time. You notice how engines and stars share a subtle, universal rhythm, both defined by the behavior of heat. Consider an engine in a car, quietly humming as it converts fuel into motion. It cannot run without differences in temperature, without energy concentrated in one place and released into another. Heat moves from the burning fuel into the engine's parts, some of it directed into motion, some lost to the air or cooling system. Nothing is wasted. Everything flows according to nature's preference, whether it performs work or spreads into the surrounding space. You can see the same principle in stars. At their cores, nuclear reactions release tremendous energy, producing heat and light. This energy flows outward, diffusing through layers of plasma, until it reaches the surface and radiates into space. Stars shine because energy moves, because heat follows its own quiet path, spreading and transforming along the way. Their brilliance is a visible trace of entropy in motion. Notice the balance between work and loss. In engines, as in stars, energy is never fully captured. Some is always lost to heat. Even the most efficient machines cannot avoid this. Entropy ensures that no work can occur without a cost, that no concentration of energy remains indefinitely. The necessity of loss is not a flaw. It is the rule that allows movement to continue. This principle echoes back to your own body. Like an engine, your cells convert chemical energy into work, heat, and motion. Blood flows, muscles contract, neurons fire. Heat escapes your skin, feeding the wider environment. You are part of the same universal system. All life, all machines, all stars operate through the same gentle balance of energy transfer. Imagine standing at a distance and observing an entire city at night. The lights shine because power plants release energy, some of it captured as electricity, most of it spreading as heat into the environment. Cars move along roads, engines quietly converting stored fuel into motion and heat. Each system follows the same preference. Energy moves from concentrated areas to diffuse ones, allowing work, sustaining motion, but never holding still forever. Even flowing water obeys a similar principle. Rivers descend because potential energy seeks a lower, more evenly distributed state. Motion continues until differences are balanced, but local arrangements can temporarily capture energy, forming waterfalls, currents, and eddies. Heat is less obvious in this case, but it is always present. Motion, friction, and collisions generate subtle warmth that spreads invisibly. The universe seems to favor flow over stasis. Energy moves not because it is ordered to, but because moving is easier than being still. Concentrated energy always seeks paths to disperse. Machines, stars, rivers, bodies, all follow this fundamental pattern, each expression of the same gentle law of nature. You notice that every system relies on differences. Without uneven distribution of energy, engines would stall. Stars would grow dim. Rivers would stop. Life would cease. Imbalance is the fuel for motion, and motion, in turn, spreads energy, softening contrasts while creating temporary usefulness. Imbalance creates opportunity. Flow sustains it. The temporary nature of usefulness becomes evident. An engine produces motion until fuel runs low. A star radiates light until its core changes. Your own body metabolizes energy, releasing it as heat and work. Everything that performs work pays a quiet cost, an entropy toll that must be accepted. Nothing keeps its concentrated energy forever. This cost is not a tragedy. It is a natural rhythm. Energy does not vanish. It is redistributed, shared, transformed. Heat diffuses into the surroundings, marking time, shaping the environment, preparing the stage for new processes. Work and loss are not opposing forces. They are complementary expressions of energy's movement. You can see this in a fireplace, a car engine, a glowing star, or your own heartbeat. Energy flows, work occurs, heat spreads, and balance is approached, but never perfectly achieved. Each system exists temporarily as a focus of concentrated energy before it diffuses into the larger universe. Usefulness is always fleeting, as natural as dawn fading into day. Think about how a star's light travels across space. By the time it reaches you, energy has left its original form, moving outward in photons, warming nothing specific, yet touching countless points along its journey. The star's brilliance is the product of countless transformations, each obeying the same principle of spreading energy. Motion and work leave traces, and those traces themselves become part of the unfolding universe. Engines and stars teach patience as well. Nothing rushes. Energy flows gradually, step by step, through whatever pathways are easiest. Friction slows motion. Radiators dissipate heat. Photons drift through space. The passage of energy is steady, persistent, patient. Time unfolds gently as heat moves. This brings you back to your own body. You are a tiny engine, glowing and moving, releasing warmth, performing work, paying your own entropy toll. Every pulse, every breath, every step is part of the same universal principle. The pattern repeats at every scale, from subatomic particles to planets, from neurons to galaxies. All are connected by the flow of energy. You notice that systems can temporarily resist diffusion, like a pot of boiling water holding heat or a battery storing energy. Yet even these exceptions obey the law in the long term. Energy always seeks more ways to spread. Usefulness, like warmth, is ephemeral, lasting only while conditions allow. Patience and persistence, not rigidity, govern motion. This realization makes the universe feel intimate. Cosmic processes, machines, rivers, and your own heartbeat are all expressions of the same underlying tendencies. The flow of energy, the distribution of heat, the creation of work, the inevitable cost. These are the quiet rhythms that unite you with the stars, the engines, and the broader world. They are a language you feel rather than hear, a pattern you sense rather than measure. Even night itself is a reminder. The darkness around you is not empty. It is a repository for energy dispersed from countless sources. Heat leaves your body, warmth drifts into air, photons fade into space, and energy continues to move outward. This ongoing flow sustains the cosmos as much as your own heartbeat sustains you. You drift in this awareness, feeling small yet inseparable from the great river of energy. Engines hum, stars shine, your body moves, all part of the same gentle dance. Flow is constant. Work is temporary. Heat spreads, marking every transformation, every pulse, every breath. Nothing holds forever. Everything contributes. You drift farther outward, beyond the warmth of engines and stars, into the vast reaches of space. The universe stretches around you, immense and quiet, carrying heat that has traveled for eons. Here, warmth behaves differently than it does near a cup of tea or a glowing star. It disperses slowly, inevitably, smoothing contrasts across unimaginable distances. You feel the universe breathing, releasing energy, exhaling the remnants of its own creation. Galaxies, which once blazed with concentrated brilliance, now seem to glow more softly. Stars age, their cores running low on fuel, radiating heat outward until they fade. Even the light that reaches you has been stretched by distance and time, cooling into longer wavelengths as it drifts through expanding space. Energy moves as it always does, but on scales so vast that it feels eternal and gentle. Cooling is the universe's way of telling time. Entropy, the quiet companion of all processes, acts as a cosmic clock. As energy spreads, contrasts diminish, motion slows, and activity declines. This is not a catastrophe. It is a patient unfolding, a universal settling into balance that will take billions or even trillions of years. Time is measured not by noise or drama, but by the steady, imperceptible migration of energy. You notice that this cooling does not erase history. Light from ancient stars still travels across the cosmos, carrying information about events long past. Heat that has diffused into empty space remains energy in motion, participating in the eternal redistribution that is the universe's way of aging gracefully. In this sense, endings are never truly endings. They are transformations, gentle and cumulative. Imagine a star cluster like a fading campfire. Sparks rise, embers glow, smoke drifts upward. Over hours, the fire cools. The air carries away warmth. The fire loses intensity but leaves a lasting imprint. Warmth that lingers, smell that reminds, ash that nourishes new growth. The universe does the same. Energy spreads, activity fades, and the cosmos becomes quieter, yet its story persists. Even planets participate in this slow exhalation. They radiate absorbed solar energy back into space, their surfaces slowly cooling over millennia. Geological processes release heat accumulated from formation, from friction, from radioactive decay. Even life on these planets contributes warmth, exchanging energy with the environment. All of these processes are guided by the same gentle principles that shaped your own heartbeat and a car engine's combustion. Energy moves from where it is concentrated to where it is dispersed. You begin to sense a rhythm to these slow endings. They are not sudden or violent. They are measured, patient, and inevitable. Heat flows from stars to space, from planetary cores to surfaces, from living creatures to their surroundings. Contrast diminishes, motion eases, activity softens, and yet, life and structure exist for as long as they can, participating fully in the dance of redistribution. Entropy acts not as a destroyer but as an organizer of possibility. By spreading energy and reducing extreme concentrations, it makes room for new formations, for temporary order, for the flicker of processes that will arise and fade. Even as stars die and galaxies cool, entropy ensures that their energy is not wasted, but continues to contribute to the larger unfolding of the cosmos. This long, patient cooling creates a perspective on your own life and warmth. You feel your heartbeat and breath as small echoes of the same processes. The warmth you release, the energy you expend, the motion you carry, all are tiny reflections of the universe's way of moving, redistributing, and aging gracefully. You are not separate. You are part of this immense, slow exhalation. Even the most powerful galaxies will eventually release their heat, their stars fading into remnants, their matter gradually dispersing. Black holes will persist longer, bending space and energy around them, but even they will eventually interact with the slow redistribution of energy on a cosmic scale. Nothing rushes. Nothing is forced. Everything participates in the same patient dance. You notice a soft beauty in this. There is no need for excitement, no urgency, no drama. Cooling is not frightening. It is reassuring. The universe does not collapse or vanish abruptly. It shifts, relaxes, and spreads energy in a way that feels inevitable and orderly. There is wisdom in letting things exhale naturally, in accepting slow transformation as the rhythm of reality. In this vast, quiet space, contrasts are softened but not erased. Galaxies shimmer faintly, stars pulse intermittently, interstellar gas drifts slowly. There is still motion, still life, still warmth in localized pockets. But the grand scale shows a universe gently moving toward balance, where extremes are softened, differences smoothed, and energy spreads patiently across the cosmic fabric. You may sense a strange comfort in this cosmic patience. The slow cooling of the universe mirrors the slow cooling of your body at night, the fading warmth of a lamp as it dims, the gentle decline of a fire in a fireplace. Everything obeys the same principles, from the tiniest atom to the largest galaxy. There is order in movement, purpose in redistribution, and inevitability in transformation. Even endings are not abrupt. The fading of light is gradual. The dimming of heat takes time. Motion slows incrementally. There is room for observation, for reflection, for gentle awareness. Entropy is a teacher, showing that slow change is both natural and necessary, that patience can be found in the quiet fading of brilliance. You rest inside this realization, feeling connected to the universe's long, deliberate exhalation. Galaxies cool, stars fade, energy spreads, motion slows, but nothing is truly gone. The processes continue, quietly, endlessly, with a patience that spans eons. You are a participant in this vast rhythm, as much as any distant star, any engine, any heartbeat. You notice the gentle patterns that exist in everything, from your own breath to the drift of clouds in the sky. Some parts of the universe appear orderly. A crystal lattice, a spiral galaxy, a hummingbird's wing. Others appear chaotic. Smoke curling from a fire, waves breaking along a shore, the scattering of autumn leaves. You realize that these distinctions, order and disorder, are not absolutes. They are perspectives layered onto the natural behavior of energy and matter. Entropy has been your quiet companion for many chapters now. It moves warmth, spreads motion, smooths differences, and guides the arrow of time. You begin to see that it does not care about your notions of order or chaos. Crystals can form in a high-entropy environment. Rivers meander through landscapes, eroding and reshaping, yet they follow the same preference. Energy seeks freedom, motion seeks space. Nature operates by principles, not judgments. Flow replaces control. You feel the warmth leaving your skin, carrying a soft message. Nothing can be forced, only guided. Your body, your environment, your mind, all participate in the gentle redistribution of energy. Order is a temporary convenience, a local pause in the ongoing spreading of warmth and motion. Disorder is not destruction. It is an invitation to change, to explore, to allow energy to wander freely. Think of a sand dune. Wind deposits grains in elegant arcs, forming peaks and valleys that appear organized. Yet each grain moves independently, following the simplest forces acting upon it. What seems like rigid order emerges from countless tiny acts of disorder. The same principle applies to rivers, forests, clouds, and even your own circulatory system. Patterns arise, not in defiance of entropy, but because of it. You begin to understand that what we fear as disorder is actually honesty. When heat spreads, motion shifts, and matter rearranges, nothing is pretending. There is no intention to deceive or defy. Entropy shows things as they are, without judgment, without desire for permanence. It is a mirror reflecting the natural tendency for energy to find balance, for motion to flow, for time to continue. Your body demonstrates this principle intimately. Blood moves through vessels, circulating warmth and nutrients. Your breath rises and falls, inhaling cool air, exhaling gentle heat. Cells divide and repair. Muscles release energy through tiny twitches or larger movements. Each process follows the universal rules of energy, generating temporary local order while contributing to a broader, more diffused pattern. Your body is not rigidly controlled, it is fluid, adaptive, alive. The same is true for larger systems. A storm moves through the atmosphere, creating temporary order in its swirling winds, then dissipates into calmer currents. A star forms from collapsing gas, shines for millions of years, and finally releases its energy into surrounding space. Each system creates, maintains, and transforms order, yet none escapes the gentle inevitability of redistribution. You notice that release can be comfortable. Letting go of control over tiny details, the heat leaving your skin, the patterns of motion in your thoughts, the world outside your window, brings a sense of ease. Entropy is not a threat to be fought, but a companion to be understood. You can relax into the natural tendency for energy to wander, just as you relax into the rhythm of your own breath. Even thought itself participates in flow. Ideas form, persist briefly, and fade, blending with other impressions and insights. You cannot hold a single thought indefinitely without effort, and that effort requires energy. Allowing thoughts to diffuse, to spread and mingle, mirrors the same principle you have observed in heat, motion, and life. Consciousness is not separate from the laws of energy. it is another expression of them. You begin to perceive time itself as part of this flow. The past is the record of energy already dispersed. The present is the ongoing distribution, moment by moment. The future is the space in which warmth, motion, and potential continue to spread. Each instant is transient, but each contributes to the wider unfolding. Letting go of attachment to fixed order allows you to rest in the continuity of change. Patterns arise because energy follows the paths of least resistance. Crystals grow in specific arrangements, rivers carve predictable channels, and cells organize themselves within tissues. But these patterns are fragile, temporary, adaptive. They exist because entropy permits them. When energy spreads beyond certain limits, the patterns dissolve. Neither order nor disorder is permanent. Both are expressions of the same flowing system. You notice how gentle this flow is, how patient, how pervasive. Heat leaves your body without drama. Wind moves leaves without malice. Rivers carve valleys without intent. Stars burn and fade without resentment. Everything participates in this redistribution, from the smallest particle to the largest galaxy. The flow is a universal language, soft yet persistent, quiet yet powerful. By releasing fear of chaos, you feel a new comfort. Disorder is not threatening. It is informative. It reveals the natural state of energy and matter, showing how systems interact, balance, and evolve. You are part of this flow, not separate from it. Your warmth spreads, your thoughts diffuse, your body participates in the redistribution of energy. You belong to the same gentle unfolding that shapes rivers, stars, and galaxies. Even endings are softened by flow. A star dies, yet its material contributes to future formations. Your own energy, released as heat, sustains the environment and participates in larger cycles. Nothing is abruptly destroyed. Everything is transformed, redistributed, reimagined. The comfort of this realization settles deep in your mind and body. You recognize that life itself is a temporary arrangement of energy, a local pause in the broader unfolding. Your body, your thoughts, your surroundings, all are part of a system guided by flow, by the movement of heat, by the subtle shaping of entropy. You are alive not in spite of redistribution, but because of it. Letting go becomes an act of participation, a quiet alignment with the natural order. You notice the simplicity of this principle. Flow is easier than control. Redistribution is inevitable. Patterns arise, dissolve, and arise again. There is rhythm, there is beauty, there is continuity. Nothing is lost, nothing is wasted. All is shared, spread, and integrated into the ongoing movement of energy. You notice the simple act of touch. The surface of a cup, warm from liquid poured moments before, slowly cools in your hand. You feel the temperature slipping away, the energy leaving, moving outward into the surrounding air. Each fraction of warmth that leaves carries a story, marking the passage of moments that cannot be recaptured. Time here is not abstract. Time is felt through temperature, through the subtle changes your senses detect. Your skin registers differences, no matter how slight. A breeze brushes against your hand, carrying away warmth. The pillow beneath you retains yesterday's heat differently than the mattress around it. Even small temperature contrasts become a measure of change, a map of past interactions. You begin to realize that the flow of heat is a rhythm underlying all experience, a pulse that marks both movement and stillness. Entropy, which has guided your journey so far, now reveals itself as the weaver of time. Heat moves from concentrated regions to diffuse ones, never reversing on its own. Every release of warmth is a tiny arrow pointing forward, an unbroken thread that ties the present to what came before. There is no need for clocks or calendars to measure these moments. The universe is its own chronometer, tracing time in the motion of particles, in the fading of warmth, in the gentle spreading of energy. You watch the candle flame flicker and imagine the heat moving into the surrounding air. This glow softens as energy disperses. The wax melts, drips, reshapes, and gradually solidifies into new forms. You feel the rhythm of these processes as a kind of pulse, the natural heartbeat of change. Each flicker, each droplet, is a record of moments passing, a tactile expression of time in motion. Memory emerges from the same principle. When a cup cools, you remember that it was once warmer. When your body feels a lingering heat, you recall the source, the fire, the sunlight, the cup of tea. These recollections are grounded in physical reality. They are sensations of past energy now partially diffused into your surroundings. Memories are not just mental constructs, they are echoes of thermal flow. The present moment forms a warm center between past and future. As heat leaves one place, it enters another. You are always between the fading warmth of what was and the incoming motion of what will be. Awareness itself becomes intertwined with this gentle redistribution. You sense how your own perception participates in the broader unfolding of energy, receiving, interpreting, and reflecting. You notice that even silence carries the mark of time. A room that has been warm from sunlight gradually cools. Shadows lengthen. The air moves subtly, carrying minute differences in temperature. Nothing dramatic occurs, yet each shift is a trace of past heat dispersing and energy continuing to flow. Time is quiet, patient, measured in the slow, unceasing movements of matter and warmth. Your own body registers time through warmth. Your hands cool while the core remains steady. Your breath carries heat away. Metabolism continues, releasing energy, shaping a subtle gradient that moves through your physical presence. Each pulse, each beat, is a temporal marker, a gentle reminder that you are in the middle of ongoing processes that cannot be paused or reversed. Even landscapes participate in this temporal texture. A sun-warmed rock slowly releases energy into the ground and the air. The ocean absorbs the heat of the sun and redistributes it through currents, tides, and waves. Mountains radiate warmth to cooler valleys. Everywhere, the movement of heat constructs the narrative of time, allowing you to sense past, present, and future in tangible ways. You begin to feel time less as a linear measurement and more as a texture, a gradient. Warmth fading, cooling, and moving becomes a soft, tactile calendar. You do not need numbers or schedules to mark the passage of hours. Each change in temperature, each gentle redistribution of energy, signals a new moment, unfolding in rhythm with countless others. The world itself becomes a chronicle, written in degrees, in motion, in diffusion. Even light carries warmth's record. Sunlight reaching your skin carries energy, a history of fusion at the core of a distant star. By the time it warms your arm, it has traveled across space and time, transformed along the way. Heat and light are intertwined with the sensation of now, creating a bridge between cosmic processes and the intimate, immediate experience of your own body. Time feels inevitable because heat moves inevitably. Energy prefers to spread. Motion prefers to wander. Concentration diminishes. Differences soften. Contrasts even out. You feel the arrow of time as a gentle directionality in every temperature change, every motion you perceive. This direction is subtle, patient, constant. A quiet, pervasive guide to understanding how the present emerges from what came before. You begin to notice how this shapes awareness. A memory arises, carries warmth from past experience, and then disperses as thought continues. Anticipation emerges, projecting warmth into imagined futures, only to be reshaped by observation. You participate in the same flow you have been tracing. Energy moves, moments unfold, and perception records the changes. Your mind mirrors the universe, processing shifts in temperature, motion, and time. Even in darkness, temperature tells the story of the day. Night cools the air. Objects lose the heat accumulated during the day. Your body adapts, generating warmth to maintain balance. These subtle thermal exchanges mark the passage of time in ways that are almost invisible, yet undeniable. You sense hours and minutes not as numbers but as shifting warmth, as flowing energy, as quiet redistribution. You feel a soft connection between memory and warmth, awareness and entropy. Past moments are stored in subtle traces of energy. Present moments are the gradients you inhabit. Future moments are shaped by the paths along which heat will flow, by the potential for motion to move and spread. Time is not abstract. It is tangible, measurable in degrees, in energy, in warmth felt and released. In this awareness, you begin to notice the intimacy of the present. You are both observer and participant in energy's ongoing redistribution. Your body, your thoughts, your sensations are all part of the unfolding of time through temperature. Each breath, each heartbeat, each pulse of warmth is a moment in which you both feel and shape the gentle flow of existence. The arrow of time is defined not by clocks or schedules, but by these continuous, irreversible movements. Heat fades, energy spreads, motion continues. Each moment builds upon the previous, carrying the memory of warmth, the trace of change, and the anticipation of what will move next. You feel it, you sense it, you live it not as a hurried sequence, but as a textured, gentle rhythm. You rest inside this perception, feeling time as warmth and awareness, motion and entropy. The present becomes a warm center, surrounded by the cooling past and the potential of future diffusion. You sense the continuity of all things, the unbroken connection between your body, the environment, and the universe at large. Time is a soft, flowing presence, moving through you and with you, always.